Welcome members. Welcome to Engage with Tech Market Analyst Meetup Group. And welcome to our webinar, Digital Tech Startups Economy Market Trends 2019 and onwards, especially focused for the US market. I'm Sumant Parimal, Chief Analyst of 5G Research, also partner at Star Consulting Services Inc. So today webinar is scheduled for around 30 minutes, and at the end of the webinar we'll have a Q&A session. In between, you have any question, you can free me to ping me here in the chat window, or you can unmute your mic to talk to me. Until that point of time, you can keep your mic and camera in mute mode. So I'll start my presentation with this listing. If you are able to see my slides, so here you're seeing the top 50 list of the best cities around the world for startups. So these are the best cities. These are not the largest city for the startups. So if you see the Berlin Germany tops the list, and followed by Tel Aviv, Israel, then Helsinki, Finland, Stockholm, then Bangalore, India, London, Boston, US, and Copenhagen, Denmark. So like San Francisco, US is also there. And apart from that, there are other US cities also. In total, you'll see the US has highest number of cities listed in this list, which is like, I think right now I can find in top 50, there's 6 US cities are there. So in nutshell, US is one of the biggest startup economic country. So from that perspective, we are very clear. So that's the reason we are discussing how this last couple of years the startup economy, particularly the digital and tech startup economy, perform in US. And we will have the glimpses of around the world performance also, so that we can benchmark, how the US startup have done. So with this, we'll go to the next slide. And that's what I was narrating, that US startup economy is one of the biggest of the world. And it was followed by UK, and then followed by Israel and India. But China is fast emerging, right? In last 2 years, the China investment into or focus into deep tech startups have tremendously shown growth. Though this not reflecting in this data, because this data gets refreshed, after 1 year, 2 year of the time lag. But definitely, at least China is going to catch up. Maybe right now in the fourth rank, might be it's coming to third or second rank also, with the speed and with the focus they are pursuing their deep tech and robotics technology ventures, startup ventures, and also to some extent the blockchain. So then we'll come to the next slide. We'll see in blockchain how China has picking up other countries, even picking up above the US. And in robotics startups, they are ahead of any other countries. So if you see the US growth story as far as the tech startups are concerned, the number of tech-based startups in US surged by 47% in the last 1 decade, if you compare with the last 1 decade data. So you'll see around 50% growth in the US tech startup. But last 1 year, there was one dip also, the previous year in the growth rate. But overall, if you leave the last year dip in the number of tech startups in US, then overall the last 1 decade, it has shown a tremendous growth rate, and overall average it comes around 47% for the last 1 decade. So if you see the next slide, the typical metropolitan areas where the startups are getting, at least getting funded first time. So they are like, the San Francisco area, the first one. and the New York area, New York, New Jersey area, and LA area, that again in California, then Silicon Valley area, and then Boston area, Seattle area, Chicago area, San Diego area, Austin, Washington DC. So these are, in some form ranking. I mean, in terms of they are ranked in the number of the startups which funded first time. So you'll see that almost there's around dozen segments of clusters of startups, tech startup, you can say, there in US. So, and the Houston area, that's shown here at the lowest, but actually it is somewhere in the mid if you see our further research. So, and they are the tier two kind of cities. They are emerging very fast, and because due to the infrastructure and other constraints we are seeing in the Silicon Valley area. So many startups are moving to these less crowded hubs. So the competitiveness of these hubs are also coming up or coming down with the passage of time, or with some kind of policy interventions. So those details we are not walking you through, that how each sectors are competing compared to the other sector, other segment. But in nutshell, these are the clusters of startups, tech startups in US. Now coming to the next slide. I'll start because Silicon Valley is the biggest tech startup hub. So, and in today's audience in this bridge, we have participants from Silicon Valley as well as from the Boston and New York also. So we'll keep a mix of Silicon Valley and to some part of Boston also. We will mix here in terms of how the tech startups have performed in these areas. So let us start with the Silicon Valley area. So it has been rated as highest innovative area, you can say tech innovation area, as it generated largest amount of patent of around 20,000 patents in 2017. I mean, this patent data is a bit 1 year older, but you can have some estimation that how big is the patent finding activity happening in Silicon Valley. And over 1/4 of the world unicorn startups originate from Silicon Valley. So when I say unicorn, they are the startup companies having reached a valuation of 1 billion USD. So if you see, most of the unicorns of the world resides in the Silicon Valley area. So they are headquartered in Silicon Valley area. So it's the largest startup ecosystem, globally valued around to $80 billion, and houses of 47% of all startups in the US. So you say 50% of almost 50% of the tech startups are housed in the Silicon Valley area. Last year alone, the startups collected 22 billion. So now one data says 25 billion, but you can say 22 to 25 billion investment the Silicon Valley startups got and through the VC route, and with around 45 mega deals, and these deals values are at least 100 million plus. So you can see the scale of the deals happening in Silicon Valley area as well as the VC investments are concerned. And further, apart from VC investment, it saw 650 plus M&A transactions deal in year 2018. So M&A indicators are sometimes good indicator. That means the startup ecosystems are working fine, and after seeding stage, or even if after the first funding, they are getting enough traction or the market valuation to the extent of getting acquired. So this is a good sign that if the higher M&A rates have been observed in last one area in the Silicon Valley. So if you see investment in Silicon Valley versus other startup hubs, so a startup hubs we have picked up other from the global list. So if you see the Silicon Valley, the count of investment in 2018. So if I see the large VC investments, so you will see it was around 8-1 deal. It is shown here. Sorry, 8-1 deal you can see here. And what was the investment amount? So as I mentioned, around 22 to 25 billion USD invested through VCs in the various startup firms in Silicon Valley. So if you compare it with the other tech hubs like we have mentioned here, we have compared with London, Paris, Berlin, and Tel Aviv. So Silicon Valley is naturally the highest here. You can see here the highest one, and then followed by London, followed by Berlin, and followed by Paris, and followed by Tel Aviv. So undoubtedly, Silicon Valley is one of the largest recipient of the VC fund. Oh, I think in this data of Silicon Valley also I think also includes San Francisco area, but in many of the reports, San Francisco startups are reported separately, and the Silicon Valley, like Bay Area startups, are reported separately. But I think in this graph, I need to again reconfirm you from the source. But as far as I know that this comprises of San Francisco Bay Area startups also. I mean, San Francisco as well as Bay Area startups also. So if I see the total funding in US as the tech startup sectors, the last year it touched around 100 billion USD, right? So if you see here, and the deal size was like the number of deals happened was touching around 5,536. So this, like, I mean, maybe some higher up because this reporting was up to around somewhere around the start of quarter 3 or quarter 4 of last year. And if you see the unicorns growth rate last year and last 2 years, if you see, it was growing, like the US VC-backed unicorn birth. So 2018 saw the highest unicorn birth in in US startup ecosystem. So unicorns are and most of the unicorns are concentrated in Silicon Valley, like in the previous slide I mentioned about that. So now this quid query was run on what kind of startups are formed in Silicon Valley area. So if you see here, this largest startups are across fintech. This one, 17% startups are fintechs. So under fintech, you can see these are like mobile payments and loyalty platforms, and then crowdfunding and trading investment kind of startups. I mean, they're providing the tech solutions across crowdfunding and trading and investment. So commercial real estate and property management. So SMB accounting and financial platforms, P2P lending, blockchain and cryptocurrency. Blockchain and cryptocurrency is still the in some reports you will see it's the part of fintech, and some reports is separately reported. But the thing is, since blockchain is a new phenomena, so it's getting tracked since last 1.5 years. Most of the reports you'll find a small percentage here and there getting reported in some category. And now, but in the latest reports, they are putting it separately also, right? So next pie of the is of the startups. I mean, the population of startups are in the adtech. Sorry, adtech. So in adtech, the adtech means advertisement and marketing and CRM. It includes both. So you have CRM and marketing automation under this segment also. And one more growth area is the gaming and entertainment. So which also includes AR, VR. Okay. Then followed by pure AI and NLP companies. So if you see 3.4% of the startup population of Silicon Valley in this falling into this category, which also includes here the autonomous vehicle and NLP, that's AI and virtual assistants and boots, all those kind of solution providers and product providers. Companies are counted under this category. IoT and smart cities, the startups are also high in ratio. If you see, it is like 3.7% of all startups of Silicon Valley. They are the IoT startups. Similarly, the medtech means there's all pharma, health, healthcare, other medical related devices. So these all wellness, fitness, all if you combine, they are also having the high base over there. So it's 10% of the population, you can say. So 10% of the Silicon Valley startup populations are falling under this category. Sorry, it's okay. So now let me go to the next slide. So what are the hot technologies pursued by the Silicon Valley startups? So if you see in this time spectrum kind of presentation, this slide, so last year, 2017 and 2018, almost 146 companies, startup companies alone entered into blockchain and AI or conversational assistants or NLP kind of products. And so that if you see the growth of number of new startups compared from 2014 to 2016 and in last year. So in 2014 to 2016, it was 617 new startups in a particular area, and compared to 2017 it was only 146. But the thing is, though the number of startups have gone less, but the ticket size of the investments has gone high, right? So that's one indication. And if you see that earlier the hot technology of the Silicon Valley were IoT and telecommunication and autonomous vehicle, and before that you have the medtech related technologies, the health tech related CRM. Then before that you have the mobility, payment, and mobility related technologies. So if you see most of the investments in, you see, this is the number of companies of the Silicon Valley. So fintech is 33%, and here, and then followed by medtech here, followed by edtech, so the smart city, IoT, and AI, followed by cyber security and gaming. Gaming is still there in the portfolio. So this is the structure of how. So NLP is nothing but artificial intelligence based all products which runs on natural language processing, NLP, like natural language processing, right? So here you have the conversational interfaces, and a conversational system, like you are the boat you have, like which talks to automatically, you call it robo. Okay, so if you see the fintech is largest portfolio in the Silicon Valley startup system ecosystem. So this is how the various tech sectors profiling being done here in this slide. We'll move to next slide. I'll quickly touch the Boston trends also, because Boston has also emerged as one of the key tech startup hub. Though it's started competing with Silicon Valley area, in certain things, certain qualities Boston offers, which is not there in Silicon Valley area, and certain things Silicon Valley has the upper hand, particularly in terms of the investments, the VC presence, in terms of the other support infrastructure. So, but last year and couple of since last 1 decade here, I think last 5 years it was tracked here. So Boston has done very good as far as the VC fundings are concerned. So if you see the total dollar invested last year, it was something around 5 billion, 5.2 billion USD. Okay, so 5.2 here. Okay, so 5.2 billion was invested, and the deal if you see, this was like around 250 to 300, somewhere around 250 to 300 number of deals happened last year. The VC deals I'm talking about. So VC investment in the Boston metro area hit 5.2 plus billion in 2018. So if you further split it, AI, big data, and analytics startups are biggest or hottest in Boston area, and it attracted 17% of all VC fundings during 2012 to 2017. So 1 year lag is there in the data because 2018 data is still coming. So we are mostly showing here based on 20 and the data up to 2017. In some cases, you have 2018 data also arrive because there is some lag in the data collection from market. So if you see advanced manufacturing and robotics, the is the next focus area for Boston-based startups. So these all industry 4.1. So all industry 4.0 and robotics like those goes into the smart manufacturing. So I mean, one of the, if you see robotics in entire US cities or cluster, you will find that Boston has the largest number of, or Greater Boston, you can say, has the largest number of R&D institutions across robotics technologies, and they have established many technology park also as far as the robotics technologies development are concerned, research and development are concerned, and they are deploying in their local industry also, apart from exporting to other regions globally. Now, after giving some regional or local view, I'll also give some global view of VC funding, how the US is doing as far as the startup VC funding is concerned compared to China and Asia Pacific and Europe. So, I mean, last 2 3 years, I mean, US is still like one of the largest VC funded startup ecosystem, but other countries like China, which is actually part of this in this graph in the Asia Pacific, they are picking up very fast. If you see, this is the growth of the China. So they are picking fast while China VC funding is growing, and here we can see the US trend is declining. The VC funding is declining. So it may happen in next couple of years that both the China and US funding in startups gets across each other. And the Europe is stagnant right now, and it's not increasing, not decreasing. You can see here very well. And other regions like the Africa and other Latin America kind of countries, they are simply flat at the lower end. So major VC fund competition is between various US cities and again between emerging economies like China. Post IPO sales, how this has done, if this is another indicator that even after the VC funding has been received, when the IPO have been closed, then a particular startup, say like 5 year or 6 year down the line, how they perform. So it has been observed that blockchain-based startups, their revenue have gone tremendously high after the APO sales, after the APO. So if you see, blockchain is the fastest growing startups here, in this graph. You can see, sorry, it went ahead. So if you graph this, see, this is the blockchain. And then followed by the startups of advanced manufacturing and robotics, which I mentioned that Boston is one of the hub for these technology kind of tech startups, which I across the smart industry 4.0. So artificial intelligence, here you can see it's also hovering around 50% of the sales growth. Security, the startups across cyber security, they are also doing very good as far as the sales growth are concerned. The fintech sector is also doing good. Edutech is also doing good. But certain sectors, if you these sectors are now declining bit. Okay, declining. So these are growing. These all are growing sectors almost. Okay, these are the declining sectors. So to some extent, I mean, comparatively declining. This is not like they are out from the market. So I have a question: what are the companies in the blockchain sector? Yeah, so blockchain sector, see, there is again some overlapping. So fintech, what we are saying now, there are some applications of blockchain which are touching fintech. So maybe so blockchain will be touching fintech, and then blockchain is also touching other area like the supply chain, other area like retail. In retail you have the provenance, and in supply chain you have the tracking, and then insurance also, right? So, and pharmaceuticals. So I think blockchain, if you see from this perspective, so blockchain may touch many of the technology here, like fintech I mentioned, like health and life sciences I mentioned, so I mean, they are all interdependent, but if you see from the independent perspective, it is one of the highest growing technology sector right now. Yeah, so if you want further detail on the blockchain, recently I did two webinar on blockchain and smart contracts. So there we mentioned various emerging technology sector, and the vendors, the solution vendors also. I can reshare the link of those webinars, and you can again go through that. There is a great details here in that. Okay, so let me go to the next slide because now we are running very near to our time. So if you see the typical startup life cycle, now this we are presenting, this is not only for Silicon Valley, but this is typical, like, across the globe in tech startups. What are the typical startup life cycle? If you see the blockchain startups here, again, they are at the peak around, right? Robotics and, sorry, blockchain and robotics, they are around peak. That it means they are getting highest early stage growth, as well as the exit growth. So they are getting highest valuation when they are getting sold or acquired. So this means that. So similarly, AI and big data analytics, they are also getting a good exit value here, if you see. So edutech, fintech, these are all getting good exit value, right? If you're selling your startups, I mean to say, as well as they are growing. Even if you're not selling, they are growing. They have that tremendous growth potential. But the concern area, like in previous slide also I mentioned about that, they are now a bit lagging, this gaming and ad tech and digital media. So these sectors are on decline. Okay, so if you are into gaming industry, then you have to be very careful where to invest and what to invest, what kind of product to be pursued, right? Getting my point. So if you are into sunrise sector like blockchain and AI and robotics, then I think you can even take some risky decisions in terms of your investments and your focus areas. But the sectors which are already under decline, you have to be very careful, right? So now I'm going to the next slide here. So this is another typical snapshot of blockchain startup sectoral view. So if you see, as I mentioned, blockchain is one of the highest growth area. So you see the funding growth. This kind of growth is coming. The reason because blockchain is like last 1.5 year and 2 year maximum, they started tracking this. Okay, so since they started with zero, so that's why it's the growth is getting such a high. Like because the previously it was on the datum. So from datum, if you are taking, so definitely it may be 100 times, 1,000 times. So that may be a region. So we have to watch another 1 and 2 years, what kind of a stable growth rate is showing, right? So definitely the growth rate may not be same like 13, 21% in next 2 years because because now you have got the momentum also. So median seed deal value, if you see, there the deal value of 376K. And if you see the series A deal value, mostly around 5 million US dollar. Okay, so this graph shows what kind of VC funding happened in the seed stage, in the Series A funding as well as Series B funding. If you see, so this graph is of the Series B funding. Now, if you see the exits of blockchain-based ventures, so exit value growth happened to be 404%. That's a global average, and median exit is 30 million USD. That is the median exit. Number of exits of global share of exits. So right now from 2016 to 2017, there's only 1 year lag was there in data. It's almost the constant as far as the exit is concerned. Okay, so now coming to the next, after blockchain, you have the next focus area is AI startups. So that's another growth area. The startup output is like it's from 5% of the total global startup share is in AI. Like in blockchain, here 1.5% because that's still growing. But here it is, since AI is under pipeline, under traction since last 5-6 years. So it is now 5% of the global startup population. The startup growth, you see that the growth rate is very good, 13%. In earlier slide also mentioned about the growth, the VC growth rate, but this is the overall sectoral growth rate. So if you see funding, the funding growth is also very good here, is like 463%. And seed value funding is around 500K, and that is average funding, you can say. And if you say Series A funding in AI tech ventures, it's 5 million USD. And Series B funding, you can see here, the growth rate is very good. I mean, it was good until 2016, but in 2017, it was slightly decline, and we don't have the latest data on this right now. As far as the exits are concerned, the exits are also happening in AI sector. So the exit value is like very, very good growth rate is there, 393%. And the average exit size is 38 million. So this is the snapshot of AI startups. So industry 4.0 robotics, see how they have done. So this is around 1.3% of the total startup population. And this having the growth rate of 15.3%. And the funding here also, if you see, it's very similar to blockchain, what we are getting here. So that is 1386% growth. And if you see the seed value, average seed value funding is 460K. If you see Series A funding, average is 5.2 million, in the smart manufacturing and robotics tech startups. So similarly, exits, you see, the exits have also gained good value, 550%. And if you see the exit value is averaging around 38 million USD. So the venture, those who exited from or they sold to the other players, right? Or they've then been acquired by the other players, right? So the next sector which I want to discuss here is the fintech sector. So fintech is highest percentage of the global tech startups. So it is 7.1%. But the growth rate is not what we have seen in the blockchain or what we have seen in AI. The growth rate is very moderate, 6.8%. If you see funding, the funding is also very attractive here, 460%. funding it got, growth in the funding. And if you see the average deal value, that is also very decent as far as the seed funding is concerned, around 389K. And if you see the Series A funding is concerned, it is the average is around 4.7 million USD. The exit also very decent exit. They got the fintech sector companies, so these are like 580% growth. And if you see the median, the average exit value, it was hovering around 32.2 million USD. So fintech is a good sector. It's still growing and it is attractive, and you are having a venture into fintech sector. So be assured about its growth. And also, if you are planning to exit, so you may wait for the right moment and right deal. You may certainly get the good deal. So with this, I mean, there are other sectors also like ad tech, martech, though, but those sectors I'm skipping due to lack of time. Only these four topmost sector we given a snapshot of four or five topmost sectors. And with this, we are coming to the end of this presentation. And you have a question. If you have any question, you can right now ask to me. Otherwise, my mail ID is there. You can mail me to also sumant@startcsi.com, sumant_parimal@inaugurates.com. So any question you have here? Okay, so if you don't have any question, then what we'll do, we will